Hey guys, welcome back to the Windsor Growth YouTube channel. Doing a little bit of rebranding from the AI Simplified. I want to do it as a more kind of personal brand to me and be able to explore a few different things within sales, marketing, as well as AI, just stuff that I'm passionate about. So in today's video, we are going to talk about the who, what, when, where, and why of sales. So I'm not sure if this is a concept that anybody has ever gone over before. It's a concept that I like to think about when I'm assessing my own abilities within sales, reflection, which is a big part of growth and learning as a sales professional, is that who, what, when, where, and why. We're going to go over each one individually, so you should be able to apply it to your own day-to-day life in the world of sales, marketing, etc., to better understand your market, how to talk to your ideal market, of course, as well as just understanding people in general a little bit better. So starting with who, the number one thing when it comes to who is the personality, right? So when you're talking with a potential client, when you're dealing with an individual, being able to read people, understand people's energy, which is another part of the who, is very, very important, right? We have A-type personalities, we have B-type personalities. You have the kind of old school business people, which is where that age comes into play, and the new school business people. Some people prefer sir, ma'am, some people prefer buddy, some people prefer man, and a lot of people prefer to be referred to as their first name, right? To feel important, to feel special to you. So being able to read into that personality a little bit as you're talking with that individual, right? It could be something as simple as yes sir, no sir, starting out, and then they drop a line like sir's what they would call my dad. With something like that, you know that they're a little bit more old school, but somebody like that would definitely more enjoy being referred to as their first name, or I know what you're talking about, and just leaving things very open-ended, right? Not necessarily assigning a title to it. Whereas some people, typically blue collar, really enjoy the sir, ma'am kind of old school approach to things, like you're 55 plus, for example, right? When you're dealing with elderly people in general, sir and ma'am is going to go a very, very long way. Right. And then obviously understanding the energy in the situation. If they're a very low energy person, whether or not you need to ramp that energy up, get them up to a certain level, or match their energy. When in doubt, you always want to mirror. That's the number one thing that I tell anybody that I talk to, is that if you don't know what to do in a situation that you are faced with a customer, mirror body language, mirror energy, mirror them in their entirety. It creates this false sense of comfort and this false sense of camaraderie with your client, that, oh, they're on the same level that I am. And then once you're in control of that conversation, then you are now in the driver's seat. And then you're able to take them to step 2, step 3, step 4 of your sales process. Next up, we have our what, right? Tying the product to an emotional response. Whether you are selling a house, selling appliances, selling a pen, whatever your product is, you want to be able to tie that into an emotional feeling with that individual. You can sell based on statistics, information of it. That's not a bad thing to have. Some people are very analytical and want to have that information. But when it comes to the actual decision-making portion of the sale, nobody makes decisions based on statistics. A lot of people make decisions based on the emotion that is elicited by those statistics. So if you tell somebody that a service rate on a product is very, very good, is very low, right, that it doesn't need to be fixed very often, the emotion that's tied to that is confidence in that product. They will make a decision based on that confidence. They're not making a decision based on the information of the service rate is very low. They're making a decision based on how that information makes them feel, right? So that's a very important distinction to make when you're talking with a potential client. The solutions that you can bring to the table, the stress relief that your product can bring to the table, the ease of use, the improvement of their day-to-day life, all of that plays a part. right? Then we tie into our when, which is the urgency and the pacing. When I talk about pacing, I'm talking about pacing in the conversation, whether you need to speak a little bit more quickly or at a faster pace, or if you need to really be able to slow things down, keep things calm, keep a very stable, stoic energy with the individual that you're speaking with. When it comes to urgency, you need to be able to read how urgent is this situation to this individual. Are they okay to wait for stock to arrive? Do they need a solution right this second? Or are they good to maybe wait a week, wait 2 weeks, wait 3 weeks? Because then at that point, your conversation shifts in its entirety. If you work for a retail store, for example, and you're talking about two separate products, one of which you know that you have in stock, one of which you know that you have to order, and you can read early on what their urgency is, you're able to really go all in. That if their urgency is high, you go all in on what you have available, right? That you could solve this issue now, that you're okay to solve this issue now for them. They will thank you up, down, left, right, everything. Right? Whereas if they're able to wait, you might be able to order the product in that maybe pays your company a little bit better, pays you a little bit better, and play that game. Right? Then we go into our where. Location and origins. This is more so the location that you are in and that they are living in, and the origins of the individual based on the product that you are selling. Right? So a very specific example of this would be in the world of appliance sales. When you are dealing with people of Middle Eastern origin or Hispanic origin that do a lot of cooking with different spices, oils, things like that, you need to understand that as you are talking to them about the cooking products that you would be selling them. Right? That if they're serious about cooking, if they do a lot of home cooked meals and a lot of spicy cooking and things like that, you need to make sure that you're not wasting either party's time by speaking about very specific products. Whereas people of different origins may have different needs, right? You being able to read that, having that info in the back of your head is very, very important. Right? And then location is just that, right? People in the southern United States versus the southwestern area of Canada versus the west coast versus the east coast versus all the way north. Everybody has different needs based on the location that they're in. You need to understand that when offering a product. And then ultimately the why, which is the most important, which a lot of salespeople struggle with, is why you versus anybody else, right? Because people will argue about price, people will argue about all of these different things, but you need to be able to sell yourself and your services first and foremost. Why are you better than everybody else? Why should they choose you? Why? This is the most important, I would say, of the key 5 who, what, when, where, why points. If you struggle with this consistently, what I would do and what I have done previously is I would sit down and list out your whys as a business, that your customer service is better, that your brand identity in comparison to other companies, that you feel it's better. Well, why? Well, because I'm the most educated on the subject, because we fix things that we sell, because we look after our clientele from start to finish, because, and before you know it, all of this will just become second nature. So when you're presented with a question from the client of why should I choose you guys, you're able to rattle off A, B, C, D, create that confidence, create that rapport with the client, and that goes a very, very long way. That is your who, what, when, where, why, your 5 key points of sales. I encourage conversation in the comments. If you guys have anything that you would want to add, maybe something that I missed, I'm always open to feedback on that, but I would say that those key 5 are a really good starting point for you. Again, I appreciate everybody coming along the journey, figuring out this change in branding of the channel, and I hope that you can appreciate me wanting to kind of take things in a more personal direction. My name is Adam. Thanks so much for watching.